Hi guys, time for a bit of an update on these 3D printed boats I've been experimenting with. That one is the one that I covered with wet wipe, this sort of thing. Let it dry out and then spread it over there. Initially I used varnish to try and make it stick to the PLA. It stuck, but it didn't sort of fill very well. It was still quite open. So I eventually covered it in CA glue, super glue, this sort of stuff. And that actually has made it pretty rigid. It's much heavier than the original, but this was the one that had very poor print on it. The filament had gone very thin, so it was like a honeycomb. It was hollow and you could see through it. So yeah, so I filled it. I've also painted it with this yellow paint. That side's had 2 coats, that side's only had 1 coat, I think. Well, it may have had 2, but you can still see through it to how bad the filament was inside, or how bad the print was. Anyway, that one is ready for use. I printed these 2 using the same filament, but on a different setting. They came out better. They're still not perfect, and I suspect they may not be waterproof. Not sure. I might give them a coat of coat of varnish anyway, but you can see there's still a bit of a honeycomb effect going on down here, where it just didn't go properly. That's a support bit, that's not important, but we've still got a bit of honeycomb there. I did eventually realise that the nozzle was blocked on the printer, so I changed the nozzle and got a perfect print. So although I think it was a problem with the filament, this pink filament, and that's what's caused the blockage, when I changed the nozzle and changed the filament, then I got a much better print. That one you may notice is a slightly different size. I made it slightly shallower and slightly narrower. We then need to put a motor on it somehow. This is one of my old designs. It's actually a paper boat. It's made from papier-mâché, paper soaked in wallpaper glue actually, and then put over a former which happened to be that shape, a boat shape, and then lots of coats of varnish, but that came out very nicely. Then put a bit of foam in it, and then I made this module, just a bit of plywood, servo for the rudder, and then a small motor on it. And then I can actually fit this on several different boats, as long as they've got the same sort of thickness at the back there. I even put magnets in there and washers in the bottom of there, so it clips in place. So that was a design I did a long time ago. Anyway, I was looking at this in my workroom and I thought, well, I could do something similar for at least one of these boats. So that's a hole for a servo. That needs a little bit of work on it just to trim it there, and then that will slide through there. If I stick it in the other way, you can see that will slide through there. Put a motor in there, Those slots are for the wire to come down just to keep it out of the way. So that will be the same sort of setup as that. Oh, yeah, that's the rudder. And that's the arm for the top. Got a bit of bicycle spoke there. So let's see, which way do we need to do this? We need to push that through there. It's a tight fit, so I won't push it all the way on yet because I want to glue it in place. That needs a little bit of cleaning out at the bottom there because that's not quite smooth running. And that will go on the bottom. Oh, I just did that the wrong way up. You really want the rudder in the water, not sticking out in the air. So let's do it on the orange one for now. So yeah, that'll be our rudder, and that'll be sticking up that way for the motor. Only I think I'll do it on this one first. We can get that on there. Oh, perfect. Right, so that's going to sit on there. It's tilted back a bit, but I can glue that at the front. So servo in there, motor up there. We can stick the receiver on top of there, ESC underneath, and then battery on the bottom, and hopefully that will keep it flat in the water, because obviously if that's sticking up away, that's going to unbalance it if that's too heavy. But I think if we have the battery down there, I'll use a 20mm by 8mm motor in there, the sort of thing you have in a little Hubsan quadcopter, that sort of size. Probably well overpowered, to be honest, because that's a smaller motor. I'm not sure how big that is, but I don't think that's an 8. That looks like a 6 or 7 in there. So that's the plan. We'll put that one together and see if it works. While I'm on the subject of what I'm going to do, you may have seen this one quite a while ago. It's one of those little 3D kits. This one's actually made out of foam, card covered foam. Usually get them in wood. So what do they call it? Chinese junk. And I motorized it. I've got 2 little motors in there with tiny propellers made out of cut from a drinks can. Just very thin aluminium, just bent to shape. But those motors and the receiver come out of one of those little wall climbing cars, I think. Or it might have been a helicopter. Don't know. Infrared control. And yet it was able to work like that. Did I have that sticking out at all? I don't know. It must have just been picking up enough light anyway. Pretty sure that's infrared. Yeah, it must be. That's an infrared receiver. So I'm going to take those motors out of there. It's got LEDs for letting you know which way it's going. And I'm going to put them in here. Now, that hull is that hull. Just squeezed and shortened a bit. And duplicated, so we got 2 of them. With a joining piece up the middle. I spilled some water on there. So the idea is those 2 motors will sit in there. That will just sit on top. And we'll run that around in the bath. Just for a bit of fun. And then obviously I could make that bigger at some time, or not make that bigger, enlarge the print and use it on something a bit bigger. It's just another little test piece, 3D printing test piece. Right, I'll do that and we'll see if it works. Well, this is sort of good news, bad news. I have no idea what I've done with the pack of 4 820 coreless motors that I bought. They could be under there somewhere, but I can't find what I've done with them at the moment. But I did find this motor, which is smaller. I've just wrapped some brown tape around it to make it fit in there. But that's probably a good thing, because I think it was going to be well overpowered if I'd have used an 820 in there. So I think using a smaller motor might be a good idea. Right, that looks okay. Thanks for watching. You'll find more information down in the video description. You might like to watch that video up there, and you might like to subscribe over there.